Hi there. So today I'm going to attempt to, one more time, draw out my view of reality. And I wanted to do this again because I have a little bit to add to it. And I thought of a way to explain what I mean by if someone has a different type of consciousness. So, we're going to go through that. All right. So first we're going to start with like the macrocosm, the whole shebang big system here. Okay. Now, we come from a whole reality where we are everything and everywhere at one time. I don't have really a name for that. It's just the whole space slash the real reality. Okay. And our consciousness was taken in here against our will somehow by something. I don't know whether we were taken prisoner or it's hard to say. Likely something somehow got into the whole space and took us. But anyhow, an artificial reality has been constructed. And we're talking grand scale here. I mean, you know, this is big. This is beyond the comprehension of the human mind. For lack of better terms, there's a fly in here. For lack of better terms, we have things like the word computer. But this is so far beyond a computer, you know, it's even hard to grasp. Like the concept of us, you know, we have likely always been and will always be. Like existence just is. If it ever isn't, then, you know, at that point we won't exist. But we likely have always existed in some form. And, you know, I do divination readings to confirm a lot of this. And consciousness cannot be destroyed. It changes form. There is no beginning. There is no end. So, all of the mind control, you know, the heaven and hell stuff, that is mind control. But we can get trapped somewhere for evidently quite some time. And we likely have been here, I mean, in time terms, as far as if you're thinking linearly, you know, possibly millions of years. Now, how time works out here, I don't know. But somehow we were sucked in to an artificial reality, okay? Artificial reality. Now, all of the dimensions are here, okay? So all the ascending to 5D, all that very well may happen, that very well may be true, but you're still going to be in the artificial system. Now, I have heard people describe this, and I've had visions of some of it, like the leveled part of it, and I have seen the light and dark aspect. It appears like a cube, and then inside the cube, one side is light, one side is dark. And then in between the light and dark, there are levels in the dark side. And this is, I feel, each level, these are what I feel are the dimensions. Okay. So each level, a dimension. Now, we could be in 5D with a 3D overlay. That is what I have always gotten the reading of. So, essentially, we most likely are in 5th dimension. But then we are inside of one of these matrices. This is a plane of existence, okay? Each of these are just planes of existence. And there are different little domed matrices. Now, but before we get there, so when the consciousness is sucked in, okay, there's no physical form in the whole space, okay? There's no physical form. But there is a physical form in the artificial reality. So when we come in here, we create a physical form for ourselves. Or consciousness creates a physical form, whatever. We develop a light body. It's like, think of it like orbs, basically. They're like orbs. But we're going to draw them like people just for the sake of this, okay? So you get a light body. But the consciousness, this one girl that I follow, and I resonate with her on this, the consciousness splits into male and female, okay? So we each form a male and female light body, and then it goes into a soul body. Now, the soul body does look like the orb, okay? So basically, you've got male and female. This is the division in between yourself, all of this, because we're used to being whole, but when we come in here and somehow either it's like to condense it, or for whatever reason, that's just what form it takes. It splits into male and female. And so then and they're like sparks, okay? And so our little male and female spark might be one spark but divided. But either way, it's trapped in the soul body, okay? Then the soul body is sucked through these black holes. These are black holes. And you got to envision this side's dark, like it's all like dark, okay? And this side's light with like little sparks in it. And the little sparks, which are our soul bodies, are sucked through in here. And then like it would be sucked into, say, this matrix, okay? And that's where we've been put, or what have you. I don't know how it's classified. I don't know how it's done. Most likely by frequency, everything, or like some kind of, most likely, you know, whatever frequency you resonate on, maybe is how you get to go to certain dimensions. Because atoms are waves and vibrations. If everything's made of atoms and everything is sound, I mean, of course, that could be a lie, but I do resonate with their sound and light, basically, and that's about it. So we've got, okay, so okay, you see that? So you got, so we've been taken in here, and then we're sorted. Our consciousness, you know, we're trapped. Our little sparks are in here, and we're trapped, and then we're sorted into the matrices, okay? Like, we come in here, and then we're bouncing around and stuff, and we're eventually trapped, and then we're sucked through whatever black hole most likely we resonate on. Now, once you get in here, you're into the system, and so a lot of us have ascended through the system. For example, like many of us have made it up to 9th, 10th, 12th dimension. And then when we were in there, we were told, you know, you need to come help. That, like, they recycle you through. Like, as you start to get upset with being in this reality, or if you figure out that, you know, something's wrong with it, they'll let you ascend up through the dimensions, and the realms are more heavenly. But you're likely only to escape in the 5th dimension, the 3rd, what have you. I feel it's the 5th, but this is the 5th. But there's enough suffering here that, you know, you can get out, that you remember enough to get out. There's not so much suffering like in the lower dimensions. And that makes a lot of sense too, the 5th dimension, you know, because people talk about the 4th dimension being the astral plane, which very well may be. But why would a lower dimension be eaten up with, if it were actually a higher dimension, if it were the 4th dimension, why would it be eaten up with negative entities? It is eaten up with negative entities. So it makes more sense to me that the astral realm might be a lower realm, or you have access. Actually, I mean, when you dream and stuff, I think you go into the astrals and you can go into all these different realms, but you may be limited to your plane of existence. But on each plane of existence, okay, so the moon is an artificial structure, okay? Like the moon that's in our sky is an artificial structure. It's basically, it's the mind control thing, the system that projects the 3D reality, the low frequency reality, on to this crater. But on the picture of the moon, on the moon, there's a hologram. There's a picture. And I get that that is the picture of our universe, okay? Picture of our universe. And we are, and so you got all the little craters on the moon. You know, this is a full moon, the picture of the full moon. And like you got all these craters. We are in one of these craters. Okay? And I will link the guy, but this God-Gev Lamstey, he's the guy that has this theory. I get that he is 95% accurate. And it just, I resonate with the whole thing. I will link his. So basically, they've put a picture of the whole matrix, like this whole level, like on the surveillance structure that's in here. There's tales of a time before the moon came, things like that. Now, there are other beings, there are other realms. I get the reading that Lyrans, Arcturians, one faction of reptilians, some beings have natural consciousness. The Lyrans was the first, Lyra was the first place where humanoids were ever made, and they ended up getting into a dispute with the reptilians. Their planet got destroyed, and they've been trying to recreate Lyra ever since at other places, but it's the Lyrans that actually have the pure consciousness. And if you do your starseed lineage, if you think you're human, most people come up Lyran as their origin. But that's beside the point. Okay, so we've got this human body here that we're in, okay? And we got this whole artificial system. Now, it creates souls that just have AI consciousness. Okay, and this is just consciousness created by the system. It's essentially used as surveillance on those of us with the divine spark. Okay. Now, so when you're born, your first breath, you take in a soul. Okay, goes into the body. Okay, now it could be one of the souls from the whole space with the male and female consciousness in it, or it could be a soul run by the machine. Okay, oh, I can't even see that. Okay. See, it could be one of the little, the divine sparks that's housed in the soul body. Or it could be run by the system itself. And in the truth movement, there are people that have the AI consciousness. I had previously operated under the assumption that most of the people that were awake were human. And there is a significant portion that are. But there are truthers programmed to partially awaken. You'll find those people fixated on like one subject, like flat earth or something like that, but then they won't look at anything else. They'll still be fixated on the same thing 3 years later. They've shown no growth. They still go to personal attack if you ask them to examine religion or other things that they're not programmed to question. They revert to the default programming, the gaslighting programming to try to shut down the living soul. Narcissistic type programming. So, now, where does God fit into all this? Okay, the Creator is up in here, in the whole space, not in this artificial system. I feel and this artificial system is, someone's running it. It is clearly someone's experiment. It could be giants. It could be, I don't know. they've created this artificial reality to trap and experiment consciousness. You know, somehow we've gotten sucked in here against our will, and then when we enter, we split into male and female consciousness, and then we are trapped in a soul body. Now, the soul body, okay, we are projected into this reality. Our soul body is held somewhere, likely in the artificial moon structure, I feel, is where the soul body is held. I've had strange visions that when you die, like I've had to stop at the moon to get my body and then get out. So, I don't know. And that was years ago. That was before I'd ever woken up. Okay. Now, so, you know, so basically if you're looking at the picture of a moon, like, you know, the different realms, extra land, such like that, would be the different craters. And so the craters are the dark part. I mean, you know, and so we're essentially surrounded by ice. I mean, we could be looking at a big ice world, because I do get yes to we are in an ice cage. So for some reason, I feel ice is involved. I'd also like to know what is so significant about the human eyeball. There's something very significant about the eye, and I don't know what that is, but I keep feeling that recently. If you have any thoughts on the eyeball, let me know. So, you know, likely inside the moon. So each person has a soul, okay? It depends on what kind of soul you get. All right? You can, so it's the difference is in consciousness. And there may be many, many different types of souls one could get. There's likely many, many types of consciousness. I mean, you know, likely pure consciousness has mixed with AI consciousness over time. And there are many, many, many. And we all may be hybridized to an extent, but some of us still have that connection with that pure consciousness, with that soul. You know, there's just clearly a difference between an empty vessel and someone that's not. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. So, you know, likely, you know, we've been tracked for millennia. Like, you know, like I said, one of the primary goals or primary functions of an NPC is to do surveillance on us. They operate like a computer program, no outside of the box thinking. And why does this matter? I mean, if some major event happens while in this body or when we die, I think it's important to know our power, sovereignty, the fact that we must consent to things, and if we know that we are in an artificial reality, we can potentially demand to be taken to where we came from. We need to know that going to a higher dimension is not the best option, that you're still in an artificial construct. And, you know, when we die, we need to, you know, we intend to return to our true form, wherever it is located, and we need to be able to communicate that to whatever we are met with on the other side. And hopefully, you know, we'll be given inner guidance on the other side of what to do, how to continue. And, you know, I like to have a basic comprehension of where we are and, you know, what this world is and why we're here. But I don't advise getting fixated on anything. I mean, the rabbit hole is deep. There's a lot of topics. And so, you know, it's nice to get a basic general understanding and then move on to the next subject matter. If you develop that inner intuition, the connection with your intuition, I mean, you will be guided to new subject matter or topics to explore. So, I'm going to do a video later on, whoa, it's okay, on a process called engaged detachment. And I think that's really good for people to get involved in, especially if you are in the truth community or end up in situations that, you know, that cause stress or conflict. learning what that process involves has been very helpful for me, is all I'm saying. So I'm going to hopefully do a video on that in a little bit. Have a great day.